This is the touching story of a young mother who made a mistake, lost everything, and was left alone to raise her baby. But just when she had nothing left, a stranger changed her life forever. You don't want to miss this. Please do me a small favor, hit that subscribe button and join our family. Your support means the world to me and helps me share more amazing stories like this with you. Thank you so much for being here. Now, let's dive into the story. Her name was Jessica. She was just 19 years old, full of dreams, full of life, and full of plans. She always said she would become a lawyer one day. Her parents were not rich, but they did everything to support her. They believed in her. Everyone in their small neighborhood in Abuja believed in her too. Jessica had brains. She had character. But there was one thing she didn't have: experience with the world. She met Brian in her second year in school. He was good looking. He dressed well, and smiled with confidence. He wasn't a student, just a guy who lived near her campus. At first, she ignored him. But Brian was persistent. Every morning, he waited for her in front of her hostel. He bought her food, gifts, and even paid for her school handouts. She started trusting him, and then she made the biggest mistake of her life. One night, after too much laughter and sweet talk, Jessica found herself in his room. She told him, "We can't do anything serious. I'm not ready." He smiled and said, "I love you, Jessica. I will never leave you." Weeks later, Jessica realized she had missed her period. She thought it was stress. She took a test. Positive. Her world stopped. Sat on her bed, holding the test kit, shaking like a leaf. Her heart was pounding. "This can't be true," she whispered. But it was. Ran to Brian. "I'm pregnant," she said. Brian's smile disappeared. "You're what? Pregnant?" "Brian, we have to talk." Brian didn't answer. He just walked away. That was the last time Jessica saw him. She called and called. He blocked her. She went to his house. He was gone. Disappeared. Like smoke. Jessica cried herself to sleep every night. When she told her parents, her father screamed. Her mother wept. Her father shouted, "You're a disgrace. We warned you. You've destroyed everything." They locked her out. Jessica slept outside. Alone. Pregnant. Afraid. Jessica managed to get a small room in a dirty, crowded slum in Abuja. She worked at a roadside food joint, washing plates for a day. Her stomach grew big. Her legs got weak. Some days, she fainted from hunger. But she never gave up. The day she gave birth, she was all alone. No mother, no friend, no nurse that cared. A kind woman in the neighborhood helped her deliver her baby on an old mattress in the corner of her room. The baby girl was small but beautiful. Jessica named her Hope. "Because that's all I have left," she whispered, holding her newborn close. But raising a baby without money was like climbing a mountain with broken legs. Jessica couldn't go back to school. She couldn't work much. Hope needed milk, diapers, medicine, warm clothes. Jessica had nothing. Some days, she sold her own clothes to buy baby food. Some nights, she drank water and watched her baby cry of hunger. One Sunday morning, it rained heavily. Their roof leaked. Baby Hope was coughing badly. Her body was hot. Jessica touched her head fever. She ran outside, barefoot, holding her baby in the rain. She went from door to door in the neighborhood. "Please help me. My baby is sick." People turned their backs. Some closed their windows. One woman shouted, "Go back to the boy that got you pregnant." Jessica cried and walked away, shivering in the cold. She didn't know where she was going. She just walked. By afternoon, she found herself standing in front of a big restaurant. In the signboard was bright and bold. She looked through the glass. People were laughing, eating, smiling. She saw grilled chicken, jollof rice, drinks, and desserts. She pressed her baby to her chest and whispered, "Let me just try." She walked in. Her clothes were wet, torn, and dirty. Her hair was messy. People turned to look at her. Some moved away, frowning. A security guard stepped forward. "Madam, you can't enter here like this." Jessica didn't stop. Was desperate. "I just want to beg someone," she said, breathing fast. Then, she saw him. A young man, well-dressed, sitting alone near the window, eating calmly. His phone lay on the table beside his wine glass. His watch sparkled. Jessica walked toward him. Her hands were shaking, her lips dry. She stood beside his table. "Please, sir. I don't want to beg like this, but my baby is sick. I need help. I've tried everything." He looked up, surprised. "Sit down," he said. Jessica was shocked. Sir, sit, he repeated. You look like you need more than just money. Tell me what happened. And that was the beginning of everything. Jessica sat down slowly on the edge of the chair. Her legs were weak. Her hands still trembled. She couldn't believe someone had told her to sit in a place like this. The restaurant was cool and quiet. Music was playing, like fried chicken and fresh bread. Across the table, the young man was looking at her calm, serious, and curious. My name is David, he said. And you, Jessica? She replied in a shaky voice. The baby in her arms coughed again. Her head rolled side to side. Her lips were dry. David leaned forward. Your baby doesn't look okay. You said she's sick. Jessica nodded quickly. Her eyes filled with tears. She has fever. Her body is hot. Has been coughing for days. I don't have money for hospital, or drugs, or even food. I don't know what else to do. David looked at the baby again. What's her name? Hope, Jessica whispered. He raised his eyebrows. Hope, yes. Because, even when I had nothing else, I still hoped. David sat back in his chair. Tell me, Jessica, what happened? How did you get here? Jessica looked down at her torn slippers. I was in school, second year. I was doing well. I had dreams. I wanted to become a lawyer. My parents were proud of me. She paused. A tear rolled down her cheek. Then I met a boy. His name was Brian. I thought he loved me. I made a mistake. I got pregnant. He ran away. Blocked my number. Disappeared like I never existed. David said nothing. He just listened. When I told my parents, they threw me out. My dad said I had brought shame to the family. I begged them. Cried for weeks. But they didn't want to see me again. Jessica looked up, her eyes swollen. I found a small room in a bad area. I did small jobs washing plates, cleaning gutters, anything just to eat. Then I gave birth to Hope. Alone. A woman helped me, but even she couldn't do much. She wiped her face quickly. Since then, it's just me and Hope. Every day, I try. I beg. I cry. Some nights, I don't sleep. Some mornings, we wake up with nothing, no food, no water. Jessica looked at her baby, now sleeping weakly in her arms. But today she was breathing fast. She was burning hot. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I prayed. I just kept walking, and then I saw this place. I told myself, even if people insult me, let me just try. If I don't beg, my baby might die. For a moment, there was silence. David blinked slowly. He looked away and sighed. Then he looked back at her. Jessica, he said softly, you are stronger than you know. She frowned slightly. Strong, yes. You carried your baby through the streets. You walked into this restaurant even though everyone was staring at you. That's courage. You didn't sit and cry at home. You did something. Jessica sniffed, shocked by the kindness in his voice. David stood up. Come on. We're going to the hospital. Right now. Jessica's eyes widened. Sir. He reached out his hand. Get up. Let's save your baby first. Jessica hugged Hope tighter and stood. People in the restaurant were watching them. Some whispered. Some looked confused. But David didn't care. They walked outside together. A clean, black SUV was parked in front. The driver rushed out and opened the door. Take us to Queen's Medical Center. Fast, David said. Jessica sat beside him in the back seat, still confused. She looked at the leather seats. She'd never entered a car this fine before. Hope coughed again. David touched her forehead gently. She's really hot. We must get there quick, he said. Jessica whispered, thank you. David turned to her. Don't thank me yet. Just stay strong. At the hospital, nurses rushed in to take Hope from her arms. David paid cash immediately. No delays. Doctors examined the baby and gave her oxygen. They gave her injections. Jessica sat on a bench, rocking back and forth, praying in her heart. 2 hours passed. Then the doctor came out. She's stable now, he said. You came at the right time. If you waited one more day, she may not have made it. Jessica broke down in tears. She knelt on the hospital floor, thanking God. David gently helped her up and held her hand. Your baby will be okay, he said. Jessica looked at him, her eyes full of water. Why are you helping me? She asked. You don't even know me. David smiled. I saw a mother in pain. That's all I needed to know. Later that night, the hospital gave them a clean room. Hope slept peacefully on the baby bed. Jessica sat beside her, still in shock. A nurse brought her food. David had ordered it. She ate slowly. It had been 2 days since she last had real food. David came into the room and sat beside her. He looked at the sleeping baby and then at Jessica. "I lost my mother when I was a child," he said. "She died because my father refused to take her to the hospital early enough. I still remember the way she cried and held me. Since then, I promised myself, if I ever see a woman in need, I'll never look away." Jessica looked at him, speechless. "You didn't just save your baby today," David continued. "You reminded me of my mother. That strength. That pain. That love." Jessica felt a warm tear fall again. Sadness. It was something else. Jessica stayed by baby Hope's bedside, barely moving. She only left the room to bathe. The doctors and nurses checked on the baby every few hours, and her fever slowly dropped. Her tiny chest rose and fell gently. She even smiled once in her sleep. David visited twice each day, never empty-handed. He brought food, drinks, wipes, clothes, and toys. He even brought a tiny pink blanket for Hope. When Jessica asked why he was doing so much, he just smiled and said, "Your baby deserves it." Jessica didn't know what to say. Nobody, not even her own parents, had shown her this kind of care in over a year. On the third morning, Jessica woke up to see a small envelope beside her bed. Inside it was 50,000 naira and a short note. "Use this for any small things you may need today. Don't worry, there's more help coming. David." She held the envelope to her chest and burst into tears. That afternoon, David came to check on them again. "She's looking stronger," he said, smiling as he touched Hope's cheek. "Yes," Jessica said. "She even drank a whole bottle this morning." "Good. That's a fighter," David said. Jessica laughed a little. They sat near the window of the hospital room. The air smelled clean. Birds chirped outside. For once, Jessica wasn't thinking about where her next meal would come from. "I've been thinking," David said. Jessica looked at him. "About what?" "You can't go back to that small room in the slum. Not with a baby. It's not safe. You need a better place." Jessica's smile faded. "David, you've already done too much. You saved my baby's life. You've given us food, clothes, even money. I can't ask for more." "I know you're not asking," David said calmly. "But I'm offering." Jessica shook her head. "Why are you doing all this for me?" David paused and looked her in the eye. "Because I see something in you. I see someone who didn't give up when life turned its back on her. You remind me that there's still goodness in people, even when they're broken." Jessica swallowed hard. Her heart was beating fast. He continued, "I don't want to just help you survive. I want you to live. You and Hope." The next day, they were discharged from the hospital. Hope was healthy again. Jessica wrapped her in the pink blanket and held her close. David was already waiting outside with his SUV. "Let's go home," he said. "Home?" Jessica asked. David smiled. "Yes. I found a place for you." They drove for about 30 minutes. Jessica kept staring out the window, wondering if this was all a dream. Soon, they arrived at a clean, gated compound. It had green flowers, tiled floors, and water running from a small fountain in front. David led her into one of the flats. It had a sitting room with a couch, a kitchen with a fridge, a clean bathroom, and a bedroom with a baby cot already set up. Jessica covered her mouth in shock. "This is for me." David nodded. "Yes. It's rented and paid for 1 year. Everything inside belongs to you." Jessica couldn't speak. Her knees became weak. She fell to the floor and cried loudly, from her chest. "Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, David. Thank you." David helped her up gently. "No more tears. This is a new beginning." Jessica settled in quickly. That evening, David returned with bags of groceries. He placed them on the kitchen table. "I don't want you worrying about food," he said. "Eat, rest, take care of Hope." Jessica cooked that night. It was her first time cooking in a real kitchen in over a year. She made rice and stew. She offered some to David, who stayed to eat with her. They laughed and talked like old friends. Jessica found herself smiling more. She felt human again, alive. Hope slept peacefully that night, her belly full. David visited often. Sometimes, he brought baby items. Other times, he just came to talk. They talked about life, pain, and dreams. Jessica told him how she used to want to be a lawyer. David listened closely. "Who says you still can't be?" Jessica sighed. "Maybe someday. But right now, I just want to build a life for my daughter." David nodded. "And you will. Starting now." He came with an envelope. Inside were documents. Jessica looked confused. What's this? David smiled. I've found a shop space. It's in a good area, lots of traffic. I've already paid for it and stocked it with goods. It's yours now. Your own supermarket. Jessica dropped the paper. No, this is too much. It's not. I've seen you. You're smart. You're hardworking. You need something to build on, and this is it. Jessica shook her head. How will I repay you? David smiled. You don't need to repay me with money. Just promise me one thing. What? Raise your daughter with love. And never stop believing in yourself. Jessica was silent for a long time. She walked to him and hugged him, the first time she had touched someone warmly in years. Thank you, David. I'll never forget this. That night, Jessica lay in bed and whispered to Hope. Your life is going to be better, my baby. We found an angel in a restaurant. And our story has just begun. Inside her new apartment, Jessica had just finished bathing baby Hope. The baby giggled as Jessica gently rubbed powder on her tiny legs and kissed her cheeks. Jessica smiled too. It felt good to smile again, not the fake one she used to wear when begging for help, but a real one. A peaceful one. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Jessica quickly tied her wrapper and rushed to the door. It was David, holding a food basket. I brought dinner, he said, grinning. You cooked for me the other night. My turn. Jessica laughed and stepped aside. Come in, Chef David. They sat in the dining area. David opened the basket. It was fried rice, chicken, salad, and 2 bottles of fresh juice. Everything looked delicious. You really didn't have to, Jessica said, sitting across from him. I wanted to, he replied. Besides, it gave me a reason to see Hope. Jessica turned to the baby, who was already dozing off in her crib after her warm bath. She's doing so well now, Jessica said. Thanks to you. David leaned back in his chair and studied Jessica's face for a moment. You're different now, he said quietly. Jessica raised her brow. Different how? Your eyes, David said. The first time I saw you in the restaurant, they were full of fear, sadness, pain. But now, they're calm. There's peace in them. Jessica looked down at her plate and smiled gently. You noticed all that? David nodded. I notice people, especially broken ones. There was a long pause. The only sound in the room was the baby's soft breathing. Then David asked the question that had been burning in his mind. What really happened to you, Jessica? Jessica looked up at him. Her eyes blinked fast, like she was holding something back. I mean, David continued. No, you told me about school. Brian. Your parents. But what about you? How did it all make you feel? Jessica placed her fork down. She took a slow breath. Honestly, she asked. Honestly, he said. She leaned back in her chair and looked at the ceiling like she was searching for the words. I felt like trash, she began. Like I was nothing. After Brian left, I thought maybe my parents would still love me. But they pushed me away like I was a curse. That broke something inside me. David said nothing. He let her speak. I begged them. I cried on the floor. My mom turned her face away. My dad said I was no longer his daughter. She paused. I was pregnant, scared, hungry, alone. People I once called friends avoided me. Some even laughed at me. I hated myself. I blamed myself. I used to ask God, why did you let this happen to me? Jessica looked over at baby Hope, who had now fallen into deep sleep. But each time I looked at her, something stopped me from giving up. Even when we had nothing to eat. Even when I got sick and almost fainted. Even when I had to beg strangers. Jessica's voice broke. Her eyes were wet again. I kept going. Not because I was strong. But because I had no choice. David leaned forward. You are strong, Jessica. She shook her head. No, I was just desperate. No, David repeated gently. You were strong. You are still strong. And honestly, you inspire me. Jessica blinked. Me? Inspire you? David nodded. You survived what many people wouldn't. And you did it without turning bitter. That takes strength. Jessica smiled. Thank you, David. But I still feel like I'm dreaming. You're not, he said. This is real. Your story isn't over. In fact, it's just beginning. Jessica sat quietly for a moment, then said, Can I ask you something too? Anything. Why are you still helping me? She asked. You've done more for me in 1 week than my own family did in years. What do you see in me? David didn't answer right away. He looked at her, really looked. Then he said, I'll see someone worth saving. Jessica's throat tightened. David went on, most people in my world chase money, looks, status. But you have something rare. You have heart. You loved your baby when it made no sense. You stayed alive when life gave you every reason to quit. That's the kind of person I respect. Jessica felt like crying again, but this time she held it in. David stood up. And that's why I've made another decision. Jessica stood too. Another one. He nodded. I'm assigning someone to help you run the supermarket for the first month. I want you to rest a bit, learn slowly, and not stress yourself. But soon, it will be all yours. Jessica gasped. Are you serious? David smiled. Dead serious. Jessica couldn't believe it. She walked up to him and hugged him tightly, not out of pity, not out of fear, but from the deepest part of her soul. Thank you, she whispered. David pulled back and looked into her eyes. Jessica. If you ever need anything at all, call me. She nodded. Okay. Later that night, after David left, Jessica sat alone by the window, holding her baby in her arms. She whispered to Hope, you see that man? He's not just our helper. I think he's an angel in human form. And in her heart, Jessica started to believe in something again. Not just hope. Love. Jessica stood in front of her mirror, holding baby Hope close to her chest. The mirror was, but for the first time in a long time, she liked what she saw. Her skin was clearer now. Her cheeks were no longer sunken. Her hair, freshly washed and neatly packed, framed her face softly. She had on a simple gown David bought for her, nothing flashy, just clean and beautiful. But it wasn't just her looks that had changed, it was her heart. She felt peace. For the first time since she got pregnant, Jessica could wake up without fear of hunger, insults, or shame. She had a roof over her head, a bed to sleep on, food for her baby, and a business waiting for her to grow. She walked into her kitchen, picked up a bottle, and began feeding Hope. You're growing so fast, she whispered to the baby. You've seen more pain than many children your age. But now, everything is changing. Hope smiled up at her, and Jessica smiled back. Mrs. Kate arrived to pick her up for work. The supermarket was just a 10-minute drive away. Good morning, Jessica, Mrs. Kate greeted. Ready for your first official day as a businesswoman? Jessica nodded, carrying her baby bag. As ready as I'll ever be. When they got to Hope's Corner Superstore, Jessica couldn't stop staring at the sign again. It felt like a dream that refused to end. Inside, Mrs. Kate gave her a small notebook and a pen. This will be your daily record book. You'll learn how to take stock, write down sales, and manage profit. It's not hard. You'll learn fast. Jessica sat behind the counter, nervous but excited. People were already coming in. Most didn't know she was the owner. She greeted them kindly and offered help where she could. By afternoon, she had already sold several items and recorded her first small income. When David called to check on her, she answered the phone with a big grin. Guess what? She said. David laughed. That's the spirit. Every great business starts small. Days turned into weeks. Jessica fell into a sweet routine. Morning. Feed Hope, clean up, get dressed. Day. Head to the shop, learn, sell, record. Evening. Come home, rest, cook dinner, bathe Hope, reflect, pray, and sometimes call David to share how her day went. Each day felt like a gift. She was no longer the girl begging on the streets. She was now Jessica, the shop owner, the mother of Hope, and a woman on a mission. David surprised her by walking into the shop just before closing time. Jessica's eyes lit up. Hey, what are you doing here? I came to see my favorite boss lady, he said, picking up a bottle of juice from the shelf. Business looks good. It's picking up, she said proudly. I've even made a few loyal customers. David placed the juice on the counter and leaned forward. I knew you could do it. You're a natural. Jessica blushed. Only because someone believed in me. He smiled. And I still do. After they closed for the day, David offered to take her and Hope out for dinner. Just to celebrate your first full month as a businesswoman, he said. Jessica hesitated. David, I don't want people talking. Talking about what? You, me, you know. I don't want to spoil your name. David looked at her seriously. Jessica, I'm not ashamed of you. Her eyes widened. You're not. Of course not, he said. You've survived more than most people. If anyone should be proud, it's me, proud to know you. Jessica felt her heart skip a beat. They went to a quiet restaurant in Garrick. This time, Jessica wasn't dressed in rags. She wore a beautiful peach dress David had gifted her weeks ago. Her sandals were clean. Her baby was healthy and wrapped in a white shawl. People still looked, but for a different reason now. They saw dignity. As they had and laughed, David asked, "Have you thought about going back to school?" Jessica nodded. "Yes. I want to, one day. But not now. I need to focus on the shop and hope first." "I understand," David said. "But whenever you're ready, just say the word." Jessica looked into his eyes. "David. Why are you still here?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, you helped me. You saved my baby. You gave me a house. A business. You've done enough. Most men would have disappeared after that. But you're still here." David leaned closer. His voice was calm. "I'm still here because I care about you, Jessica. Not just what happened to you. The person you are." Jessica froze. Her hands started shaking slightly. "I don't want to rush you," David added quickly. "But if there's a part of your heart open to the idea, I want to be more than just your helper." Jessica looked at him, speechless. Her eyes burned with tears again. "I've never felt this safe," she whispered. "But I'm scared." David reached out gently and held her hand. "It's okay to be scared. But just know this, I'm not going anywhere." As they drove back to her apartment, Jessica sat in the back seat with Hope sleeping on her chest. Stared out the window, thinking deeply. Was begging strangers to save her baby. Now, had a home, a business, and a man who was showing her the kind of love she thought only existed in fairy tales. Could it be that her story wasn't ending in pain after all? Maybe her new life had truly begun. It had been 3 months since Jessica opened Hope's Corner Superstore, and the change in her life was nothing short of a miracle. She now woke up every day with purpose. She didn't have to beg anymore. Didn't have to fear where the next meal would come from. She had income, dignity, and more importantly, she had peace. The store had grown. It started as a small shop with a few shelves, but now it had doubled in size. David had quietly supported her expansion, but most of the progress came from Jessica's smart thinking and customer care. She smiled at everyone. Gave loyal customers small discounts. She remembered their names and birthdays. Soon, people from nearby estates were saying things like, "Go to Hope's Corner. The lady there is so kind. She sells good products and she's trustworthy." Jessica didn't even need to do adverts, her kindness did it for her. Jessica was arranging a shelf when she heard the bell at the door. She looked up and there was David, holding a gift bag. "Good afternoon, boss lady," he said with a smile. Jessica laughed. "David, you came at the right time. We just restocked the juice you like." "Good," he said, walking in. "But I didn't come for juice today." "Oh, I came to tell you something important," David said, his eyes twinkling. Jessica raised her eyebrows. "Should I be scared?" David laughed. "No. Excited, maybe." He handed her the gift bag. "Open it." Inside was a small envelope. Jessica pulled it out and opened it. Then she gasped. Her hands began to shake. Inside was a certificate of ownership for the shop. It had her full name on it. Jessica Thompson, owner of Hope's Corner Superstore. She looked at David, completely stunned. Is this for real?" David nodded. "It's yours. Fully. No rent. No landlord. It's now registered in your name. You don't have to worry about yearly payments again." Jessica covered her mouth. "David, I don't even know what to say." "Just say you're happy," he said. "I'm more than happy," she whispered. Jessica stood in the middle of her store, holding Hope in her arms. She turned, looking at the shelves, the fridge, the counter, all of it was hers now. And for the first time since giving birth, she didn't feel like a mistake. She didn't feel like a failure. She felt like a mother, a businesswoman, and a blessed woman. Hope giggled, as if she could feel the joy in the room. Jessica kissed her forehead. "You see all this, my baby? It's all for you." Jessica now had 2 helpers working under her. She paid them monthly and treated them like family. People loved the environment she created, peaceful, friendly, and full of smiles. Even nearby and working class women came to her store for groceries. One of them said, "Jessica, you have favor on your head. This store feels different, like God lives here." Jessica smiled and replied, "It's all by His grace." David came with something even more surprising than a shop document. Jessica was sitting in the back room doing stock calculations when he walked in. "Hey," she smiled. "You didn't call first. I wanted it to be a surprise." He handed her a brown envelope. Jessica looked at it, confused. "More documents," she joked. "Just open it," David said, looking serious. Inside was a school admission letter for a part-time law program at a private university in Abuja. Jessica's heart jumped. David, I didn't apply for this. I know, he said. I did. She stared at him, speechless. You said you wanted to study law. So, I called in a few favors. You can run the shop in the day and go to classes in the evening or weekends. Jessica looked like she was about to cry again. I don't deserve all this. You do, David said firmly. Jessica, I want you to know something. I'm not helping you out of pity. I'm investing in you because I believe in your future. Jessica sat down slowly, her hands shaking. David, why do you keep doing this for me? David looked into her eyes. Because I love you. Silence. Jessica blinked. I didn't want to rush you, David said. But I can't pretend anymore. I love you, Jessica. I love how you fight. I love how you care for your baby. I love how you smile even after all the pain. I want you to be my wife. Jessica's heart pounded. She had dreamed of this moment, but never thought it would come. Tears streamed down her cheeks. David, I'm scared, I know, but I'll be here, every step of the way. Jessica picked up Hope and held her close. This baby saved my life. But you gave me back my reason to live. David smiled. So, is that a yes? Jessica laughed through her tears. Let's start with a maybe, and see where love takes us. David nodded. Fair enough, as long as I get to walk beside you. That night, Jessica wrote in her notebook not about sales, but about gratitude. She wrote, once, I begged in the rain for my baby's life. Today, I'm writing this inside my own store, wearing a new dress, with a man who wants to marry me. This is not luck. This is grace. Only joy. Jessica stood in front of her full-length mirror, dressed in a soft white gown. Her hair was styled in smooth curls that rested gently on her shoulders. Her makeup was light, natural, just enough to highlight the glow on her face. Behind her, baby Hope, now chubbier and crawling, played on the floor with a toy. Jessica turned and smiled at her reflection. I never thought I'd wear a wedding dress, she whispered to herself. At least, not like this. Not this way. The last few months had felt like a movie. Her supermarket was now one of the most respected in the area. Customers came from all corners of Abuja. She had hired a third worker, and business was thriving. Jessica was also studying law part-time. It wasn't easy, juggling the shop, school, and motherhood. But she handled it with grace. She was determined to prove to the world and herself that one mistake didn't define a lifetime. David had been by her side through it all. Every evening, he visited her. Some days, he brought dinner. Other days, he brought books or jokes. But he always brought love. Jessica let her heart open. While sitting under the stars on her apartment balcony, David had knelt down and said the words again. Jessica, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me? And this time, her answer had been yes. Now, here she was on her wedding day. Not in a palace, not with hundreds of guests, but in a beautiful garden, with only close friends and a few kind strangers who had supported her through her journey. The wedding was simple and elegant. White flowers, gold ribbons, and soft gospel music playing in the background. A small team of ushers directed people with smiles. Jessica walked down the aisle holding baby Hope, not a bouquet. And when she reached the altar, David stood waiting dressed in a clean gray suit, his eyes filled with love. Hope reached out and touched David's face. The crowd smiled and chuckled. David kissed the baby's forehead, then looked into Jessica's eyes. I don't just want to marry you, he said. I want to be a father to Hope. If you'll let me. Jessica nodded, tears falling freely. You already are. The officiating pastor smiled as he looked at the three of them. Today is not just about marriage, he said. It's about redemption, restoration. It's about how love found a woman in her lowest moment, and lifted her into joy. As the vows were said and the rings exchanged, every eye was wet with tears. Jessica's voice trembled as she spoke her vow. I once begged for food. Now I have a feast of love. I once had nothing. Now I have everything I need. David, thank you for seeing me when I was invisible. For loving me when I couldn't love myself. I give you all of me broken and whole. I'm yours. David wiped his eyes before speaking. Jessica, you are my miracle. You're not just a woman I helped, you're the woman who helped me believe in purpose again. You brought meaning into my world. I love you, and Hope forever. The crowd stood up and clapped as the pastor said, by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. David, you may kiss your bride. As David leaned in and kissed Jessica on the lips, Baby Hope clapped her little hands. Everyone laughed and cheered. Jessica couldn't believe it. Just 1 year ago, she was knocking on the window of a restaurant, dirty, hungry, and hopeless. Now, she was married, loved, and restored. Later that reception held in her supermarket courtyard, Jessica took the microphone and spoke to everyone. I want to thank each and every one of you not just for coming here today, but for believing in me. I was once that girl people crossed the road to avoid. That girl who begged on the streets with a crying baby. But God didn't forget me. He sent me an angel, a man who didn't just feed me, but gave me a future. She looked at David. David, I don't know what I did to deserve you. But I promise, I will honor you. I will love you. I will stand by you, the same way you stood by me when I had nothing. The crowd clapped again, moved by her words. As the evening breeze passed through the celebration, Jessica looked around and whispered a small prayer. Thank you, Lord. For lifting me from shame to honor, from begging.to blessing, from rejection.to love. She held David's hand tightly and picked up Hope with the other. Together, they stood as one. A family born from pain, but thriving in grace. Life is full of surprises. Sometimes, your biggest blessing comes from your darkest moment. Jessica was once a girl with nothing, no food, no help, no hope. But she didn't give up. She held her baby close, and kept going. And just when she thought all was lost, God sent an angel in human form, a man named David. Not only did he save her baby's life, he gave her a house, a business, and something even more powerful. Love. Now, Jessica is not just a mother. She's a wife, a shop owner, and a woman with a future. From tears to grace. From begging to blessing. From heartbreak.to happiness. Her story is proof that no matter how far you fall, God can still lift you. So if you're watching this right now and you feel forgotten, just remember, your story is not over. Help can still come. Love can still find you. And your own miracle may just be one moment away. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more real-life, emotional stories that inspire and bless. You can also share this video to encourage someone going through a tough time. Until next time, stay strong, stay hopeful, and never stop believing. God bless you. I love you all. Bye.